Yeah! Man, it's us. Both of us are here. Early in the morning. Woohoo! Hi, everybody. Welcome to a very early episode of the Brothers of Discussion. All right. Man, this is going to be, we got a lot going on today. This is going to be about zombie loving, zombie hating, zombie love hating. Man, TBS broadcasting. Oh, ooh. Chicken Little, is the sky coming down? I don't know, man. We're going to have a grave pissing episode here. It's the Brothers of Discussion. We're going to talk Miz and Morrison getting eaten by zombies, of course. It's driving people nuts. Matt, we're going to talk NXT releases. Sad face. Matt, we're going to talk Eddie Kingston deconstructing wrestling gimmicks. Maybe the funniest segment this month. And time permitting, even more. Matt, before we do all that, it's been a hot, spicy week. Wrestling every single day. How the heck are you?
I'm doing pretty good. I've gotten some victories with, I think everybody knows, I had a flood in my kitchen.
I really thought you were going to say Warzone. Got a couple victories under my belt this week. I was on the coattails of a really good player named Brent, and felt pretty good.
Who says I wasn't about to say that? The flood thing was just, it's such a ridiculous story of telling the insurance company that they can repair or replace. We had those luxury vinyl planks. They bought planks. We tested them out. They didn't work. Like it wasn't the same plank. So we said, okay, well now you need to replace because it's going to look like we have a two-tone floor. And they said, nah, you're good. So they did the repair. They finished it yesterday. So we have the insurance adjuster come out and, she's got to figure out, she's got to get our signature for us to say, job well done. And she looks at it and goes, oh, these aren't the same planks. That's why we told you like 2 weeks ago to save all this time and money. We tried to help the insurance company save money and they said no. It's the way that this crap works is ridiculous because the way that they handled it, it looked like that was the plan all along. They were like, yeah, we know these planks don't work, but we can see if they'll complain about it. And then if they don't, we saved a bunch of money. So everybody remember, don't stop fighting those insurance companies because they're pieces of garbage.
I don't know why they thought it was a good idea for your house to look like a, refurbished 1991 Dodge Neon with a red body and blue doors. But
we just had a racing stripe actually right through the middle of the kitchen.
Oh yeah, that would have been great. Well, Matt, before we dive into wrestling, where can all the beautiful people find us?
You can find us at bodpodcast.com and brothersofdiscussion.com. As our good buddy Wrestling Plug was pointing out, we do still have our wonderful hot tag series of t-shirts.
God bless Wrestling Plug. What a wonderful human being.
Guys, go follow Wrestling Plug, honestly.
He's doing the one-man show over there. You know how hard that is?
He's doing the Lord's work.
He's got a hot tag to himself.
And shout out to everybody who's subscribed to the YouTube channel recently. We have some work to do to be monetized, but clearly you guys prefer us on YouTube over the podcast world. I think it's these beautiful mugs. See?
Yeah, you know what it is too? I was talking to somebody and I was like, oh, well, I got mine too for water. Here. Here you go. I was like, I realized that what I like to do is I turn on my radio and listen to the old ball game. And I'm like, I guess these kids are on the YouTubes, they're on the TikToks, and we really got to update our whole system, man. But we're getting there slowly but surely. Slowly but surely. There we go.
There you go. I was going to let it pass.
All right, let's get into this show, Matt, because there's a lot to go talk about this week. The most recent news is the NXT releases. The names here, if you haven't heard already, and pretty awful end to one of their careers for poor Alexander Wolf. Oh no, he got pummeled by Imperium, and then we lost Skylar Story, Ezra Judge, Jessamine Duke. got to think Roddy Strong's not psyched about that one. Vanessa Bourne, and these were budgetary cuts, I guess. But I don't think these moves are too tragic, if only because, I don't think any of them really had anything going on for under the WWE umbrella.
Yeah.
So this is going to be a great spot for them to kind of, reboot their characters a little bit, kind of find some other promotions and kind of rebuild themselves, because they weren't being given any favors, I guess, under WWE's watch.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't want to defend the WWE, because certainly they have enough money to afford all these people. But when they say budget cuts, it's certainly because these people aren't on TV. So they're looking at where are they building, where are they getting value from their employees? And I don't know. Yeah, I mean, from a business perspective, are they getting a ton of value back from these guys? I will say, I mean, they wrote a story to have Alexander Wolf leave. So
yeah.
A part of that has me believing that this was mutual, because he also wasn't being written very well. I know he had the injury that kind of slowed down his push with Imperium. And then it was COVID got in the way, and we were forgetting about Imperium and how great they are. But
Insanity disbanded too. I think people were kind of on board with them. They had a couple pretty good takeover feud matches. Back when they still had Eric Young, and that never really panned out either.
But yeah, I think it means something, at least when somebody's leaving the company. It's not like it was a surprise the next day. It's my guess. I don't know. I guess I could be wrong. But you write a whole story about him. Oh, there's a little bunny outside. Write a whole story about him losing, struggling to even want to fight Killian Dane, and then getting kicked out of Imperium. That I don't know. You're even building sympathy as he's out the door. So it's something they cared about him enough to do that. So there's something to that. I think I think the leaving, like, it was a little more mutual than maybe we're giving credit for. But it's always a bummer with this stuff, because again, I'm more.
You don't want to see somebody be unemployed all of a sudden.
Yeah, I'm more than a year removed from being unemployed, and I know, despite the time you have to do other stuff, and thank God my wife can afford to take care of us, it still doesn't feel great. I know. I know how that feels. It feels pretty terrible.
I'd say the last point here is just. But like you mentioned with Wolf, that they're giving him kind of a farewell. Just kind of interesting that means that it definitely feels like they're keeping the door open for a return. Because that's something that we definitely saw them do with kind of Matt Hardy out the door, John Moxley when he was headed out the door,
and Zelina Vega has been reported to be re-signed.
Yeah, I don't know what to make of that. Do we have enough proof on that it's not just a clickbait article?
No, but I mean, it's out there. I don't know.
So yeah, wasn't she doing some work with, was it The Rock's daughter?
Ooh, I don't know about that.
It sounded like she was going into the Performance Center, and I don't want to put too much stock into that one, because I don't really think it feels like a 1 or 2 sentence story with like almost like paparazzi just keeping an eye on who's coming and going at the Performance Center in Florida. So we'll see. I think for me, I would be a little bummed to see her return. I really had high hopes for her going to AEW, because she would immediately she's such a great talker. I would love to see what she could do with a bigger spotlight, but we'll just kind of have to wait and see. The other big news this week, Matt, was AEW. They're losing that prime spot on TNT, but they're getting a prime spot on TBS. Oh, yeah. Boy.
Yeah, go for it.
Now,
I'm so excited to talk about it, but you started. Go first.
I don't think that it means the world is ending, like a lot of people on the internet were saying. But which usually when you have that clause in your sentence, I think you already know that there's not much of a reason to pour a lot into that reaction. But since we have COVID all we have is our internet reactions to go off of. Matt, I gotta say, I don't think it's awesome news.
No.
Cool, we're gonna own TBS, because if TBS was so great, they would have put the NHL and the NBA on TBS instead of wrestling on TBS. But I mean, I think Tony Khan tried to soften it a little bit. First of all, announcing a new AEW Rampage show, a new hour-long wrestling show they're going to have in August, starting in August. They're going to start doing kind of like what NXT would do, where there'd be like a special event. So they're going to hold those on TNT broadcasting. So they're not quite pay-per-views. It's going to be, kind of like how Blood and Guts, was. Yeah. And Khan was pulling out the old history books and saying, Georgia Championship Wrestling, in the 70s and 80s was on little TBS. And who can forget Thursday Night Thunder? So, Matt, you sound like you're not too bummed about this. And obviously you and I, if we have cable, it's just a different channel. But do you think at least a little bit of a loss, because they're not going to be rubbing elbows with, the first run movies like Avengers Endgame and, LeBron James with basketball. You don't see this as a little bit of a loss?
It is. And you made the best point of bringing up Rampage being introduced, because they're trying to soften the blow. It's one of those things where it's, if you came out and said we're switching channels, I think we all have seen an example of a show that's even just changed nights, and that's kind of ruined their ability to gain momentum. So, I mean, going back, there's the best example I have, just real quick, in case anybody's wondering, is Freaks and Geeks, where I think we've all gone back to watch that and said, what universe? What timeline does this show not get multiple seasons? Because if you haven't watched it yet, I mean, it is one of my favorite shows. But when you there's like a short, 15-minute documentary about it, and they were getting switched every night. And I think the final nail in the coffin was like switching channels, but they were still staying in the family. So I'm not saying like this is killing AEW Dynamite, but it is in no way good for trying to build momentum, because, Mike, there are people who are not like us, who are not just stuck on Twitter watching every move that AEW makes. And I think they'd hope that they're bringing in an audience that isn't just the hardcore Twitter wrestling fans. And now they've got to do some work to follow along. And that's the loss here. You're asking people to figure out, what the next move is. Is it a hard move? Does it take a lot of effort? No, but there are people that you'd like to have involved with this that are the casual fans. That's where you make your money with these shows. The hardcore fans are here to stay no matter what. God, I just can't. This little baby bunny out in front of me is so adorable. I can't stop watching them. Anyways, but yeah, like once you ask your viewers to do homework to figure out how to watch you, it's not a good thing, and that's the long and short of it. And I think a lot of people are kind of not
this company is all about like symbolic gestures, right? They're all about symbolic gestures, whether they're blowing up the throne for WWE and for Triple H, King of Kings kind of thing. Yeah. That symbolic gesture of continuity, I think, is kind of what's lost here, with Jericho always coming out week to week and being the demo god. And it kind of feels like it felt like they won the Wednesday Night Wars, right? That felt like a symbolic victory for them, even though it didn't mean that much. Not like NXT got canceled. It's still doing fine on Tuesdays. Yep. And this is a symbolic gesture that you are always going to be second fiddle to real sports like the National Hockey League, like the National Basketball Association. So maybe for us, it's almost, we're still going to watch it. But for me, it's even a symbolic loss to feel like, no matter what Jericho does, no matter how, hot he is coming out of the promo, it wasn't enough. They still got put on TNT's second tier.
Yep.
So it's more of a wrestling loss. Yeah.
And that's trying to be as realistic with this as possible. I think the other way to look at this is just to go, it's TBS. That's where Conan O'Brien had his show until it's actually done. Its last episode is going to be here in June. But I mean, how long did he last on TBS? That's got to be like over 10 years, right? Something like that. Anyways, I mean, I bring that up because it's a premier station. It's a part of the premier network of the Turner networks. So it's not like one of those things where when we're ready to watch Impact and I got to figure out where Access is. And I'm sorry, some people are going to get angry when they hear that. That's not a big network. It's not in any way, shape, or form. So it's not a move like that. But it's still going down a rung on a ladder of the TNT channels and networks, and that's just the reality. So again, does this kill AEW? No. Is this something to poke fun and laugh at another company that has a bunch of wrestlers that we'd like to support and hope that they continue to have a job? No, that's not cool at all, and it's not even that bad. But again, I think the right way to sum this up: nobody should be celebrating that they just moved to TBS.
They tried again. Another spot where they thought they were softening it was like this week they're gonna have, or this following week they're gonna have Dynamite on Friday. Right before Double or Nothing. So they're getting bumped for sports again. And they're doing their best to kind of be like, well, we're gonna have a special night, with the pay-per-view coming up, but man, just at least if they're on TBS, that should not be the case anymore. God forbid they get bumped for baseball, which is on TBS.
Whew, yeah, an Atlanta Braves game.
So yeah, I'm definitely a little bummed, and I've seen a lot of people. I think friend of the show, Warren Hayes, he's trying to put a positive spin on it, because we're still going to be able to find it. It's still on TV, but it does feel like a symbolic loss that wrestling had to take a backseat to the real sports. So, Matt, let's talk about one more event that kind of got Twitter all abuzz. Was zombies crashing the Thunderdome.
Unheard of in pro wrestling, Mike. Can you believe
zombies?
The undead being in pro wrestling?
This is a combat sport. What are zombies doing out there? Man,
so Abaddon, Undertaker, Kane, yeah.
The Boogeyman, Bray Wyatt.
I mean, right. We just dealt with Bray Wyatt burning alive and coming back. Yeah, like the argument, if you want to say you hate product placement, I guess, that's fine. You're watching pro wrestling and you're like, give me my goddamn Snickers bar ad in the middle of the show. I don't want to see zombies written into my wrestling with top-notch makeup and special effects. No, I need my Snickers ad in between matches. Hey, if you're that person, if that's your argument, go for it. Mike, for me, we've had zombies in pro wrestling since I've been alive. I don't mind it at all. I thought it was pretty cool.
For us, we could just look at MVP. Did you see what he was tweeting? He's like, I think zombies in wrestling are stupid. Also, Undertaker is the best. And then he said, no, I don't have to defend anything. Just pointing out ridiculous hypocrisy. Undertaker didn't eat people, but he was a dead man. He could teleport and shoot lightning. He was buried alive. But no, he didn't eat people. That's just too unbelievable.
Yeah, it's being the nitpicky wrestling fan, and they're forgetting like where we came from. Like that argument of it not making sense is ridiculous. That is dumb. But like I said, even if you want to complain about product placement, it's a more creative way to infuse revenue generating relationships in pro wrestling without you having to watch a stupid Snickers bar commercial. Like, I don't understand like the preference of you'd rather have that than to have something creative, especially Mike, especially Damian Priest versus The Miz. Mike, we spent how long talking about the Backlash pay-per-view? I didn't care about that. All we did was complain about, oh my God, when is Damian Priest going to get out of this? Mike, Zombies ate The Miz, so he's out for 7 to 9 months. And,
That's good, the recovery time. We're getting eaten by zombies, only like 7 to 8 months. I'm pretty pumped about that.
There was a reported injury, so I'm not sure if that's real or if The Miz is just taking a well-deserved break after, winning the WWE Championship again, being the Money in the Bank holder, destroying Otis's career. Like, well-deserved break after that. I'm kidding about the Otis thing. But, I don't know why this is the thing. And I know I should say, it's the loud... I don't know if I want to say majority or minority, but it's those who are loudest on Twitter that are making this look like it's the worst thing ever. They get 100 likes out of the million people that are on Twitter, and then we go, see, everybody hated it. But I'm sure there's a lot of silent folks who don't have a podcast that are like, that was pretty fun. And I don't know why we don't always go in the direction of fun. I mean, another thing I complained about last week, and I think I've complained about it for a while, is this absolute need to follow a wrestling formula. There shouldn't be one. There wasn't one when it started, when pro wrestling began. We figured it out as we've moved along. And if you really, if there's a formula to pro wrestling, then go back to what it was when it first started. And there are just a couple of guys in the rings taking swings at each other. I don't think anybody would enjoy watching that. So pro wrestling can be different than what you've got, this stick in your butt that you pull out every now and then and say, no, there's got to be a couple of guys. There's some finishers and yada, yada, yada. Like, no.
Can I say, like... I actually really admired the way WWE did that, because not only was the production value really high for these zombies, and they took a few bumps from John Morrison.
Hey, wrestling plug.
I don't know if people were. Hey, good morning. They that kind of threw me off for a minute. The wrestling plug in there.
John
hey,
Morrison.
Buddy. Yeah. No, I thought the zombie production level was really well done, and then
there's effort into that.
Yeah, that really threw me off. I forgot what I was going to say.
Damn it, wrestling plug.
Banned. No.
Yeah, I mean, I could feel where you were going, though. Like, they put in effort to put this whole segment together, and I've always been a fan of effort. Can we say that? Wrestling plug says he waved back at his phone after I waved. No, I that's where I'm at. Like, if you're gonna put in a ton of effort into this, it's a high production segment like that. There was care that went into that, and I don't understand just because it didn't fit like what we all saw the match to be. Which, again, I will say, I was predicting a stinker, a bore fest.
I know what I was going to mention.
Go for it.
WWE like show production, right? So they put this ridiculous, zombie segment out there, and no, it's not going to. Maybe, I don't know if it's going to be an elongated feud between zombies and wrestlers, but people were, peeing and pooping their pants, right? And then they immediately were going on Peacock to be like, oh my God, what is this wrestling company doing? Putting wrestlers, out there with zombies. And the zombies kind of know the rules to being a lumberjack, staying outside the ring, doing their job. But the next match after that was Bayley and Bianca. So it was just like perfect, like show production where you get all the squeaky wheels talking, and then you get the eyeballs on the show, and then the next thing you do is have like the best match on the card. I don't think WWE, this is not their first time putting a show together. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, they get the goofs talking, they get the eyeballs on the show, and then you get over a Bianca Belair match again. So I don't think that was an accident. I don't think that they're sad about people. I didn't get the zombies. I didn't get to see them come up through NXT. They didn't go through any enhancement to matches, or they came right to a pay-per-view. I don't like it.
Dave LaGreca, went out and said, I'm done watching this. This is the worst pay-per-view ever. I mean, you could go through the comments and see people going, yeah, Dave LaGreca was right.
Shawn Michaels tag teamed with God. Come on. Come on.
Look, it's the story of letting some things pass, like which I think we're you and I are both fans of. When Matt Hardy teleported in his first show, which I thought was a tremendous use of the like a creative use of the arena that has no fans. It's like, well, what can we do with this? I know, Matt Hardy will teleport, and we all loved it. I thought. And here we are now where it's, I mean, shoot, aren't we complaining about wrestlers getting released, and we have the WWE generating revenue to make sure that maybe less wrestlers are going to get released? And yeah.
Did zombies set WWE and wrestling back 30 years?
Where's my hot tag button? Absolutely, Mike.
I think it did. It set it back to The Undertaker about 30 years ago. That's the same thing.
I will say, I think Chris Jericho, I don't think he was right. Like, he was not actually upset at that. He was doing a callback to where a WWE executive said,
whoever that was,
Blood and Guts, set pro wrestling back.
Whoever leaked that to WrestlingInc.com.
Right. There's just somebody that's friends with like an HR, recruiter in WWE. And they're like, this WWE executive said it set wrestling back 30 years. And WWE's going through
Sportskeeda. I got a hot take for you.
I connected with somebody on LinkedIn and they worked for WWE 10 years ago. What'd you think?
Well, Dirtsheet.com.
I don't watch the product anymore, but
wrestling rumors. It's me, the insider at WWE. What a load of crap.
This is just another example of us like obviously I want you guys to all watch wrestling and feel what you feel and say what you say, but it's just sometimes I feel like this is one of those moments where we jumped the gun on hating something instead of going, oh my God, like think of it this way, everybody. We all hate that wrestlers just got released from NXT.
Yeah.
But like, what, 10 or 12 people just got paid that night because pro wrestling tried something different. And when we celebrate those attempts at something different, more people are making money. And it was not terrible. They did that was pretty fun to watch. It wasn't terrible. You may have hated it because you don't want to see something goofy, but the way they handled it was not bad. And like I said, people got paid that night to do that segment. So
I didn't believe that zombie work rate. Didn't like it.
This is it. Like I've said, I don't want cinematic matches to go away because I think a lot of effort goes into that. And again, hey, let's talk about all the people in production. Like different people in production are needed to put on a cinematic match, like what Bray Wyatt does when he takes someone to a swamp, compared to what happens in the Thunderdome. Thunderdome people still get paid. Now we have other people getting paid to do that production. So again, like we're so angry about these attempts at something different, and we're not stopping to think that if we give it a chance and we try to celebrate it a little, I mean, sure. Like, am I really sitting here going like, number one for me is to make sure that different production people get jobs? But no, it's about that. Like, that's an element of it. And when you celebrate the effort or the attempt to be more creative, then they'll take more chances and hopefully we'll land on something that is super creative.
Yeah. Wrestling is the circus. This is just the freak show tent. You can still totally watch the wrestling tent and the strongman tent and the work rate tent. This is one tent. This is the freak show tent. We're just trying to get eyeballs on this product. And you know what? if we get more eyeballs, maybe we'll stop taking back seats to real sports. It'll be on the main broadcasting channels. God damn it. This is an attempt. We need to keep this show as relevant as possible. Don't get upset. Oh.
All right.
Well, while we're doing that, let's talk WrestleMania Backlash. And my favorite thing was how many times they made sure to say WrestleMania Backlash over and over. Matt, your favorite match on this card?
Definitely Damian Priest versus The Miz in the Zombie Lumberjack match.
That goes without saying. I guess your second favorite match after that.
No, my favorite was I was a sucker because I probably should say like Bianca Belair versus Bayley, or I mean the opening match, the triple threat was pretty hot, but I did like the WWE Championship match, Mike. The big bruisers going at it had me thinking the next night I wanted everybody dressed in kaiju costumes to just like a big middle finger to everybody that hated the zombie segment. Just put those three guys, because obviously they're going to do a rematch. Put them all in kaiju costumes and let them go at it. And I'm a little bummed it didn't happen, but that is there's wrestling plug is got Bayley versus Belair, and I think the fact that I could sit here and tell you, Mike, it's probably tough to pick which was my favorite is telling to how silly it is to call this the worst wrestling pay-per-view of all time. I think it's just none of the outcomes were really surprising, and that always hurts. And I think we said before the show started when we did our preview that was going to hurt the at least my viewing of Backlash. So yeah, that's where I'm at. What's your favorite?
Yeah, I think plugs online that Bianca and Bayley was probably the best one. It's just a reminder that when Bayley didn't really have a match at WrestleMania, I know she got to do like kind of a little bit of hosting, but man, she's so good at her job. Yeah. But last week I went after Cesaro, and he put on a classic with Roman Reigns. Do you remember? God, many moons ago, Roman Reigns used to get so much grief. He's out of shape. He needs to do more cardio. Look at him hawking up loogies in the ring. And he arguably, like, that match was almost all on his shoulders. Cesaro obviously is a fantastic wrestler. It's nothing, not anything against him. But he is like the focal point of like every pay-per-view where he's main eventing. It's the most interesting thing. It gets talked about the most, and deservedly so. I don't think there's any argument that he is right now maybe the best wrestler on the planet right now. The most compelling. All his pay-per-view matches are just must-watch, 20-minute masterpieces of storytelling, at least. I'm not saying he's, AJ Styles or Kenny Omega work rate, but man, he's such a good just powerhouse wrestler. And it really is getting to the point where, it's at that Brock level where, no, I'm not saying, Brock is the epitome of wrestling. I just mean like getting that triumph over Roman Reigns as he continues to be built like, this wrestling, super mega god. It's such a compelling story. And Cesaro really put out that top effort. He put out. And when Roman is starting to implement that guillotine a lot more, and that's always a good idea for a heel, to kind of take liberties with submission moves like that. And it didn't look out of place. Like Roman was trying to go, almost hold for hold with Cesaro, a wrestling mastermind. It was such a great match. I knew I would enjoy it because of these are two guys who are fantastic at their jobs, but I didn't know I would love it. I really thought that was an A+.
Yeah, I think for me it was just a bummer of like, all right, if we don't put Cesaro in place to be the victor in this, like I don't think I prepared myself for how empty I was going to feel at the end. Because now you try and figure out where Cesaro goes from here, because I didn't need to see him put in a good effort to know that he's one of the best wrestlers on this roster. And to think too, he never really did get that opportunity to like throw out the promo for us to go, oh man, he's really fired up for this. Like we didn't get a string of back and forth. It always seemed like he was being sheltered. So maybe that means there's more to come. But I mean, ultimately, it looks like
the end.
Yeah. And what did we get for it? We got a pretty good match, like we all thought we would. But it's not going to give us the payoff.
Yeah, there was real. It did seem like real finality, didn't it? Like,
yeah,
Cesaro did everything he could, pulled out all the tricks, and still wasn't enough.
Can I just say, with everyone complaining about zombies in pro wrestling, like there's one thing I noticed in that match where Cesaro is a pro wrestling genius, is the way that we're putting it together, and he did like a scoop slam and then rolled up Roman pretty early on in the match. Now, you would assume Cesaro did some sort of scouting. He knows what it takes to keep Roman down. We've seen him take, multiple finishers from John Cena to Brock. Scoop slam wasn't going to keep Roman's shoulders on the mat. Why aren't we more mad about that? Like, I get it. Like it's one of those things that's about the formula of a match. You do the roll up. You could probably get in a conversation about what's going on next. You can get face to face with that kind of stuff. It gives you good rhythm when you do the roll ups. Early on in the match, there's that idea: is he going to steal one? But honestly, it's like.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Like, we should be more mad about
it. Almost like could have been built
like
into
that.
The story. Like Cesaro rolled him up, and then Roman kind of kicked out, and he's like, "Really? You think that's going to work on me?" And Cesaro's just could have flexed or something like that to kind of build it in. But yeah, for them to just kind of dismissively, well, it's wrestling time to scoop and go for a pin. Like, no, man, that wasn't going to work.
Yeah, I guess like I have an idea in my head, and I think it's probably already been too long since the zombie match for me to put this together. But I do want to do like a top 10 of like things wrestling fans should actually be mad about, and less mad about cinematic matches and zombies.
Yeah, that'll be. I like that idea a lot.
The Mike, you ready to move into our favorite? The
Festival of Friendship?
Yep, yeah, there you go. Festival of Friendship between AEW and NXT. Mike, I'll take the loss here, even though we got a pretty big win for Bronson Reed and Gargano. I just kind of gave away. I don't know. People know what happens. So I've got my list here, Mike. Just I guess I have a 3A and 3B. So we do the top three from AEW and NXT to make sure that our two favorite shows are highlighted the most in our episodes. All right, so 3 and 3A is what I should say. 3A was the promo segment that followed the entire night of Indy Hartwell and Dexter Lumis's love story. That's all I'm going to say. I loved it. But 3, Mike, Hit Row gets their first match. Ashante the Adonis and Top Dollar defeat Tony Nese and Aria Daivari.
Oh, man. Poor Tony Nese. He works on those abs so hard.
I mean, the second I saw that they were the opponents for Hit Row, I was like, oh, man, this is going to be brutal. But they did it again, Mike. Like, I wasn't ready for Top Dollar to be doing, double, or I guess a 2-man fireman carry. And God, his finisher was brutal too, because it was another fireman carry into it. Like it kind of looked like John Cena's attitude adjustment. It was so much fun to watch, and then they come out with another hot promo after, where the mindset when you do the promo before the match is that you can work on it. And I don't know if I want to say workshop, but you've got that opportunity to play it through your head. But these guys had a whole match to do. And then they grab the mic, and everybody's spitting. The whole thing rhymes. It was beautiful. They're so impressive, man. And they're so cool. Like the way they carry themselves in the ring is something we don't. I don't know of another faction off the top of my head that has carried themselves with this much swagger and cool, and already feels like a top faction. This has been so quick. The win was perfect. You do not need a 5-star match when you're building up this type of faction. But I mean, you're another thing too is you're adding another hot tag team to this already amazing tag division they're building in NXT right now. And, I mean, the little hint and a tease is that there's another 3 tag teams I'm going to talk about in a second for number 2. So, I mean, yeah, this is a great segment. This is a great faction. And it needed to fit into my top 3 somewhere. And there you go. Mike, number 3 for AEW.
Yeah, I think it might surprise a few folks to see this one on the list, but I'm actually going to do Anthony Ogogo versus Austin Gunn.
Ooh.
And the reason I'm putting that on there is there's, some really good promos tonight, with Miro, Murder Hawk yelling at each other, Jade Cargill getting some mic time. But last week we saw that really awkward Cody promo. Where he's trying to get the whole USA thing and the racial struggle. It was all over the map. We talked about it, that he'd probably redo it if he could. So this week they just said, all right, we're going to get over this Anthony Ogogo match by just having him beat the crap out of somebody. And that somebody was Austin Gunn. The story they told was, not so much flag waving, and God forbid, it was our boy Wrestling Plug who was saying, maybe they're gonna have a flag match. God, please don't let that gain any momentum. I do not want to see that. I asked Wrestling Plug to please delete that tweet. So nobody else sees that one. But yeah, instead just tell the story of this badass just ruining people, and it looked like he was giving Gunn internal bleeding. And it was, not a pinfall, not a submission. Ogogo was just a ref stoppage match. So pretty decisive, dominant victory there. And I think that this stuff like this is going to make me more invested in that Double or Nothing match rather than, that weird patriotism angle that is, not since the early 90s is that a storyline that I think people really want to cling to at this juncture. So yeah, it was building towards the future. It got a guy over in one night, and it made me realize, okay, now I know what I'm getting with this Ogogo character. So I think it's worth mentioning. That's my moment number 3.
Number 2 for NXT, like I mentioned, let's get deeper into that tag division. Legado del Fantasma takes out Ciampa Thatcher. Ciampa and Thatcher last week got the surprise victory over the Grizzled Young Vets. Or was that 2 weeks ago? I can't remember. Anyhoozles. I mean, that was already something for me that I hoped that was going to turn into a long series. So I think I'm getting my wish because Legado del Fantasma gets the win, so they'll be going up against MSK next week or soon. and this means, I get my Grizzled Young Vets and Ciampa Thatch series, because ultimately I think the Grizzled Young Vets are they're a tag team, and I'm so thrilled that Ciampa and Thatcher are going to be working together. Toothless Timmy, as Ciampa likes to call Thatcher. They're going to be working together longer, and it looks like this really could turn into a big, meaningful tag team, especially when something like the Dusty Classic rolls around. But the Grizzled Young Vets are my favorite tag team. I was surprised they went down. I thought that they were getting their shot at the tag titles, just the singles with MSK after their win against Ciampa and Thatcher. And that it's kind of one of these things where they're all trading spots right now. If there was an actual power ranking that they based these matches on, but I ultimately this was fun because it was another great match. Thatcher makes everyone look like an Olympic style wrestler. Just the way that he wrestles, and he can roll himself up into a ball and then roll you up into a ball, and it just looks so perfect every time he does it. I mean, the arm bars look like he's actually going to wrench your arm out of your shoulder. And then it seems like when he's taken anybody's finisher, God, to see him scream with no teeth is hideous and so much fun. But yeah, ultimately this is a win because I'm going to get more Grizzled Young Vets and Ciampa and Toothless Timmy. So that's my number 2. Mike, your number 2 this week?
Man, I'm running out of spots here. I forgot there's 3 more segments that I really liked. Number 2, I'm going to do Serena Deeb going up against Red Velvet, who, lest we forget, is booked from, quote, Yo Mama's Kitchen. We're the people up in arms with that. You know, we're okay with zombies, but she's not from my mama's kitchen. But you know, we've been talking a lot about prospects for the AEW women's division, and I don't know why Red Velvet doesn't get, you know, more recognition. I really love this back and forth with Deeb and Deeb. Woo! You know, sometimes like the writing's on the wall if a title's going to change hands, and sometimes the writing's on the wall like Roman style, where you're like, no way are they dropping this, and that's what Deeb was. Whew. I can't remember if it was Excalibur or Shivani, but they were like, man, look at the follow through on those right hands, and I was like, yeah, I was going to say something too. She definitely looked like 1998 Ken Griffey Jr. With the finish on some of those punches. Like dramatic, like walk off, you know, home run swings, like bam, made to look even more punishing with the way Velvet was eating them. But it was a fantastic match. They gave the women some time. They didn't do the usual that we've been seeing where, looks like it's about 9:31, time for 9 minutes of the women's division. They actually got about 15 minutes to go back and forth, tell a story, and wrestle. Wasn't even the only women's match on the card. We got Shida and Britt Baker extending their story, with Shida annihilating Rebel, Don't Call Her Reba, and just want to put those together because we know how gypped we get sometimes with the women's division. But we did get 2 matches. We did get a couple storylines going forward. But yeah, more Serena Deeb. I don't know. I know it's the NWA title, but can we just make it official? Make her an AEW signee so we can see even more of her? Because, man, I like the way Michael Cole would talk about, you know, the best pure strikers in the game. Serena's looked awesome. So more of that on my TV, please. That's moment number 2.
And my dishonorable mention for this week is just I didn't get enough Saray, and she went up against Aaliyah. This is a very quick match, and I actually tweeted, all right, looks like Saray's gonna make another superstar. You know, the way she put on like a 10 hot dog match with Zoe Stark a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, I was a little bummed that this was just a squash because it just seemed like they were giving her all the time in the world to make everybody look great. So yeah, a little squash match, get that out of the way. But I think it's ultimately I just want to see more Saray, and I didn't get that. But number 1 for this week is easy. Bronson Reed, Mike wins a title in NXT. He's got the North American Championship now. I love this match so much because I didn't think we were gonna get, you know, Johnny Gargano looking like he has the strength of Cesaro, and that's all to the credit of Bronson Reed and his ability to move that body.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
We got Cesaro putting out. We got Bronson moving that body. This is a hot episode of Brothers of Discussion.
Yeah. I mean, he looked like instead of being the thick boy that he was filled with helium. So I just this match was fantastic. The power bombs. You know what? The use of the cage and the outside interference was great. Of Austin Theory getting crushed a couple of times just by the strength and size of Bronson Reed. I thought that was a little bit more creative than what we usually see. And I could throw out there one of my dishonorable mentions could have just been that Austin Theory didn't help enough, and I would have just taken him out because he wasn't like cheating enough for my liking. Gargano was like inches away from sneaking out of the cage, and this is a title match, you know, like it should be do anything to make sure Johnny holds on to the title. And there were a couple of times that Austin was just like 6 steps away, but still in like view of the camera. So it was like either let me forget that he's there or just don't bring him out, because if he's not actually trying everything to get Johnny the victory, it doesn't make sense to have him here. But outside of that, I mean, this is Bronson Reed's opportunity to show off. If you had any question about, you know, like Mike, we've been to indie shows, we've seen heifers go out there and their whole thing is try not to have a heart attack and kind of throw your body around that's not Bronson Reed at all. He is a super athlete. He just happens to come with a big frame. And goddamn, this guy deserves everything because he gives hot promos. He's got an awesome entrance, and now he's got some gold. A plus segment for me. Mike, your dishonorable mention from AEW?
Dishonorable mention, I'm going to say, is Yoga. There wasn't really a standout awful moment. It was just hilarious to me when Murder Hawk came out to yell at Miro and make some threats, for violence. And Jake the Snake was in Miro's vicinity, and Miro just said, "You better watch out, old man. All the yoga in the world can't help you if you get near me. I will end you." So really putting Yoga under the bus there by Miro. That made me laugh really hard. I could put Jericho's promo about dancing all over Pinnacle's face at number 1 and pissing on their graves, but I'm gonna go with Moxley and Kingston. They got 2 segments. Can
I just say I like how you did that? That didn't even make it into your top 3 now officially, but it had the potential to be number 1.
I thought I waffled on it, but I was just like, let's get some wrestling in here. So, we got to see Mox and Kingston. They cut a promo about the Acclaimed, and Mox was like, "So who are the Acclaimed?" And Kingston's like, "Rappers. The rappers. One's a rapper, and the other one's his friend." Oh my God! If it sounded like a production meeting, like behind the curtain when we're putting together, a wrestling group. All right, so what do you two guys? Rapper's friend. And I'm pleading for Kingston to do more promos where he just totally deconstructs the art form. Talks about who these guys are. They like super kicking, and they wear colorful outfits. They like to party. So it's the Young Bucks. That's going to be their next feud. So the Bucks battled the Blondes. The Blondes, Excalibur tried to sell it. It was like the biggest match of their career. It's just, we know with the pay-per-view around the corner that the, results were probably, we knew what was going to happen, that the Bucks were going to come out on top. The Blondes did put on a good match, but this is about, the bigger fish to fry with the pay-per-view around the corner. And Mox and Kingston came out and, did some playground shenanigans. A few people said, yeah, that's how we do it in Philly. A few people said that's how we do it in Yonkers, New York. And Kingston stole the shoes of the Young Bucks. Some pretty nice Jordans. So I guess I'm just really excited for this program to continue. I'm really excited to see if they give Moxley and Kingston a shot with the tag titles. They've kind of dropped hints. They've kind of given us, a few teases on this in the preceding weeks. And now it's official. We're going to see Double or Nothing, Bucks versus Kingston and Mox. And, the Bucks may be one of the tag teams that helped, build the foundation of AEW. But, man, kind of taking that AEW, mantle and running with it, like, Mox and Kingston, I said it, last night to some buddies, it's Heisenberg level chemistry. Like they're so good together. I can't wait. There's no ceiling for these guys. They could run the company. They're that entertaining. That might be. I'm expecting it to be match of the night at Double or Nothing because these guys are all so good. So yeah, that was my moment number 1. Was basically I kind of cheated. I know I kind of threw Jericho in. That was a 1B, but Mox and Kingston, they just owned Wednesday night. It was so damn entertaining.
Well, yeah. With that, now I gotta go run. Mike, we're getting this episode under an hour. I'm pretty proud of us right now. I gotta go get my baby. We're going early morning here because Matt is either delivering a baby today or I'm not doing. It's not coming out of me. I'm not actually doing the delivery, but I will be in the room and holding my wife's hand, and hopefully I don't get too much.
Which shirt are you wearing? Which shirt are you wearing, Matt?
Oh, I'm wearing my Dexter Loomis shirt.
You didn't wear your Bebe shirt?
I'll bring it to the hospital.
Okay, good. Yeah, the first baby pictures. I better see that Adam Cole Bebe shirt. I want it immortalized, Matt.
Well, thankfully, babies can't see that well right when they come out, so he won't be too scared by it.
Is the baby's first and middle name Adam Cole?
Just Bebe.
Okay, Bebe.
Thought that made more sense.
That's
right,
more of a
everybody...
Schitt's Creek there, but yeah. It's my beautiful baby.
Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We did it. Under an hour. All right.
Woo!
Have a good one.